Yo, 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 what is going on, peeps? Welcome back to the Backroom podcast. Hope you guys having a good fucking month and a good weekend because I know I am. I'm here with my man Gabe today talking about Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Shang-Chi is played by Simu Liu. His friend is played by Aquafina. I kind of forgot the character's name or
Katie.
whatever. Katie, that's right. I'm like, for some reason, I was thinking of the way Samu or no Shang-Chi named himself Sean. I'm like, why do I feel like it's some basic ass name? But yes, it is Katie. And then we've got Tony Leong playing Wenwu, the father of Shang-Chi. Oh man, what a fabulous character! But we'll get into that soon. And I'm sorry if I mispronounce some names because I feel like I'm going to, so try not to lay in on me. But we got Michelle Yu as Yang and Nan. We've got Fala Chen as Li. We've got Menger Zhang as Zieling, the sister of Shang-Chi. We've got Hua Yun as Master Gungbo, Florian Montoon as Razor Fist, and Andy Lee as Death Dealer. Now, Shang-Chi, the master of unarmed weaponry, based kung fu, is forced to confront his past after being drawn into the Ten Rings organization. Now, I got a weird problem with that description, but before we get into it, I just want to intro my guest, Gabe, who's here on the fucking Snyder Cut episode. What's going on, my man?
What's up, Brian? Happy to be here. Yeah, it's been a while since the Snyder Cut. It feels like
March, dude.
um, March. Yeah, several superhero movies since then, right? So this is a good one, and I'm glad to be here to talk about it.
I'm really glad that you're here, and I'm really glad that I read this description on IMDb because that ending part is forced to confront his past after being drawn into the Ten Rings organization isn't really what happened
No.
within the movie, I feel like. But you know what? Let's just start it off. Shang-Chi is the newest, I'm just going to say Avenger because that's really what they've been promoting this film as the next Avenger. Even the trailers have clips from Captain America, Iron Man. They're anticipating him to be as that big. And you know what? After watching this movie, I definitely have to agree. But before we get into some of the good things, something I was a little nervous about walking into this movie was Simu Liu a little bit. Now, I think he was perfectly casted after watching this movie, but to get a little context on how his acting is, I watched that convenience store show, that Canadian convenience store show that he's on. Have you heard of it at all, Gabe?
I haven't. No.
Yeah, he's on some like Canadian show that's on Netflix. It's Kim's Convenience, I think it's called. I watched a few episodes and he felt kind of dry to me. Like the humor just felt kind of pushy, like they wanted you to laugh, like it didn't feel natural. And I thought the performance was kind of odd. So I was kind of skeptical after watching that a few months ago about going into this, but nonetheless, I was excited. They've got such a great actor, Tony Leong, Michelle Yu coming into this. And Aquafina, I was a little nervous about going into this because I'm not the biggest fan of Aquafina. I don't really dig with her comedy style. She's kind of like the Asian Kevin Hart, I guess you can say. Someone who's like overly loud when they're in a super panicky situation. That's kind of how she's always come off to me. But I think she did a really good job in this movie. And her and Simu had a really good friendship that I'm really glad that the movie kind of went in the direction, not the romantic like, oh, why don't you guys marry? And they even touched on it in the beginning with Katie's grandmother. But I'm glad they kept it to a friendship. But real quick, Gabe, what did you think about this cast?
Oh, I thought the cast was great. Simu Liu, I think, was great cast. Like it was great casting, as it's pretty common with Marvel. I think they picked the right guy. I think he's the way he plays the character. He's not because usually in Marvel, like most of the characters, Tony Stark, whatever, Ant Man, Scott Lang, and they're like kind of like goofy and they're joking all the time, and But you always have like those two or three guys that kind of like have a straight face and they're not like making jokes, and that's like T'Challa and Captain America. There's a few that have like kind of like that position. I feel like he's right in the middle. So his performance is like kind of new because he is like, he makes jokes. He's kind of like cheerful, but also he's not like, he's not not the comic relief. He's not like quipping all the time. I thought it was great. But I do believe that even better than him were Aquafina and Tony Leong. I think, especially Tony Leong. I guess we'll get into the plot, but it's just I don't even know if he's a villain in this. Like he's
Oh yeah,
definitely the
spoilers
antagonist.
too. Sorry,
Yeah,
I said spoilers.
spoilers. Yeah, I don't even know he's the villain. He's, I mean, for sure the antagonist, right? Like he's the trigger of this whole situation.
Yeah,
But I don't know if he's like even trying to like be evil. I mean, they clearly set him up as being evil, but he's not doing an evil thing in his plan, in his grand plan for the movie, right? So
yeah.
anyway, he balances that really well. Tony Leung does, like, really, really good. He's gonna go down as one of the best MCU villains for sure. And Aquafina, I mean, I get what you're saying about her. I think either you're in for her humor or you're out, right? And I think, to me, her humor in, say, Crazy Rich Asians just didn't land with me at all. I was just like, nah, this is
Same,
too much.
same.
But then I saw her in. I assume you saw the farewell.
No, I've been
No.
meaning to watch that. I've needed to.
Yeah, so that film, I mean, it's not a comedy in any
No,
sense
it's
of
like
the
a hard drama,
imagination.
I think,
It
or
is,
like
yeah, it's like not a comedy at all. But she's so great in that movie; it completely changed the way I look at her. Like it just like completely, like there was my perception of Aquafina before and after that movie, and then in stuff I've seen her after it, I've appreciated her more. And here, I found her to be really funny. I thought she was, just as interesting, and as she's not like the love interest as you described. She's like the friend. She's great. I mean, the cast is fantastic. Michelle Yeoh, I feel like she was wasted. I mean, she's great in anything because it's her, But it's almost
yeah,
like the way I think about her in Tomorrow Never Dies. It's the the Bond movie where she played
yeah.
the female lead, and I think she was wasted. She should have been used for something better. She's barely in the movie. She doesn't get to do very much, right? And I don't know. Did you feel that with her?
Looking at the trailers, I kind of got what I expected. Like I went into this and I didn't really expect her to have a big role. I don't really know why, but just watching the trailer, I just didn't get that vibe. But I definitely get what you're saying. I love Michelle Wu or you, and she, bro, the entire I don't even want to say really training montage. It really wasn't a montage, but the whole training scene of her teaching Shang-Chi the art form that his mother was taught when she was in, what was it, Tao Lo,
Oh God, yeah, Tao Lo, something like
Tao
that.
Lo.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought that was a really great scene, but like you said with Wenwu, the father played by Tony Leong, man, dude, talk about great character arcs and just great character depth. I think the story between him and Shang-Chi's mother Lee was pretty good. When the movie first started off, I'm like, okay, I see where this is going. But you know what? I think it really went in deep when she moved into like his big fortress and they started settling down. They both gave up their powers to settle down, have Shang-Chi and his sister Xingling. Um, and you can see that I don't feel like we get to see in too many villains is you see a dramatic shift in who they used to be compared to who they were and then transformed into maybe a worse version of who they used to be before the mother really came back into the picture because he was the Mandarin for 1,000 years at least before he met Shang-Chi's mother and then just gave it all up for love. And you can see that he tried so hard and he left that life behind him. But I think the message is the past comes to haunt you sometimes,
Right.
and that's really what it did. His past came to haunt him, and that included killing his wife. And I think the dramatic character shift in between each act of the movie. The first act, we have the really hardcore Mandarin trying to conquer all the land. Then we have the second act where he's more of the father figure, and you get more of that during the present day when he tells Shang-Chi that he misses him, and they have that like I don't the traditional thing where they put their foreheads together. Um, I don't really like. I know what it is, but I don't really know how to describe it. It's a cultural thing that we don't have in America, and I thought it was really nice because this movie is super cultural. I gotta say, which I was not expecting, and I think I was reading somewhere 40%, 45% of this movie is in Mandarin. I think, which I think,
What? Really?
yeah, 45% of this movie is in Mandarin, and I found that absolutely astounding, and I loved it. It over the past few years, I've been like trying to get more into different cultures in their movies. So like Parasite was the first movie that I really went to that was a different language and it was all subtitles in the theater. And ever
Hmm.
since then, I've just been working my way and I just absolutely love it. And I love all the culture they did within this movie. But before we move on to the culture and just the rest of the story, what do you think about Wenwu in this story and his character arc with Li Shang-Chi and his daughter Xingling?
No, I think it was great. I think it progressed really well, and as you said, the tragic love story, and I think there was a bit of a misdirect there. Like it felt like they were setting up like he became evil again after his wife died, and
Yeah,
then right, the trailers made it seem like he wanted to make Sean evil again, right, or become evil like I am, but it's not what he's doing here. Again, he is evil, right? The movie sets him up as being this like 1,000 year old or however old he is, like bully and villain, right? Like they play on that, but at the same time they this is not about his evil stuff. This is about him like trying to like find his long lost love again, and this idea that triggers the plot of the movie, that this is what he needs to find her. And it was great. It was great. I think they. I mean, when we get to a bit of the nitpicks, I don't know if we want to see that separately, but I think they relied a bit too much on flashbacks at some points for his character, especially because it's like extended. There's an extended flashback
yeah.
sequence at the very beginning, and then like as soon as he comes back into the movie, there's a lot of flashbacks, like explaining what happened, right? But for his part as a character and as a performance, I think it was great.
Yeah, I think you touched on a few things. Like with this movie, it's obviously not perfect. We'll get into like the final grades and like where we really see this movie compared to the rest of the MCU at the end of the show. But I do want to say I do have a few nitpicks. The flashbacks didn't really bother me, but I do understand that I feel like some of them could have just been condensed into one bigger flashback instead of separating it more and having the story a little more disjointed than it really needed to be. But I guess we'll get like the pet peeves out of the way because I didn't really have quote unquote problems with this movie. I just had pet peeves, like you said.
Hmm.
And my pet peeves were actually with two characters, and that was Razor Fist and Death Dealer. Do you know the characters? The Razor Fist is the dude with the sword coming out of his arm, and Death Dealer was the dude with the mask that
Yeah,
Shang-Chi almost killed. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
I feel like Death Dealer looks super fucking cool, and I
I
really
know.
like that character went nowhere, and I was fully expecting to get a little bit more in depth, especially when it's shown that he's the one that helped train Shang-Chi.
Right.
So it's like this really weird territory, and they just killed him off like he was some third character, not even secondary, a third character. And I'm just like,
Completely agree. Yeah.
they had one of the best fights
Yeah.
too, in my opinion, between him and Shang Chi in the Fight Club right before his father, before Wenwu comes in and stops it, and he
Yeah.
almost kills him. And I'm just like, dude, you got a cool looking character. He's mysterious, and he taught Shang Chi pretty much what you're telling us through the flashbacks about how he became this hard, brutal, and we can say killer at this point because he has killed someone, and I it just fell flat for me. Just they kind of washed him to the side. I don't really know why. He could have been any other character. He didn't have to look that cool, but thankfully he at least looked cool. That's what I'll give him.
He looked amazing. What they did with the costume design, the
It
way
was
like the
so cool.
colors are, like the cinematography did it so well. When I saw him the first time in the first trailer, I was like, this guy's gonna like take the movie, Remember, you know what he reminded me a bit? Remember the twins in the Matrix Reloaded?
Yeah.
Right. Remember, there's like there were twins, and they were all over the marketing materials, and like like who are these like twins? Like, why are they trying to kill Neo? You know,
And they were nothing in the
they
movie.
were nothing. They were just like henchmen. I mean,
Yeah.
and not to get into the movie itself, but just they're just the henchmen that you focus on for one action sequence. And I think that's what we did. They did with this guy, and then to me that was a big waste because the look and it was just really
It was
really
so
good.
cool.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
like, bro, what are you? I don't know. But then I also have that same problem with Razor Fist. He he even felt a little bit more out of place than I'd say Death Dealer did in this movie. The
yeah.
entire cast is Asian descent, and then you just got this white guy here who I'm just gonna assume is a henchman, and there was no ever explanation why he was there, why he worked for Wenwu, like, oh, he's just some dude with a razor arm. Like, cool, that's all you know about him. And they
Yeah.
even set him up to be in like a future movie, which I don't really get. I'm like, cool. He didn't really do anything in this movie. He got his ass kicked by Shang-Chi in the beginning of the movie, and then that was it. And then he
And he
just
switched
decided to turn.
sides.
Yeah,
He
then he
switched
switched sides again.
sides like just randomly because it's like, hey, yeah, I think this little demon might kill me. So it's like, what?
Dude, no,
Yeah,
honestly, that's exactly how it felt.
yeah, yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
like, come on, guys. Why do you put like? I feel like Razor Fist could have been a cool character too, because I like the introduction fight with him and Shang on the bus in San Francisco. That
It's
was
the
such a
best scene
cool
in the
fucking
movie.
scene.
It's
Such
the
a cool
best
fucking
scene.
scene.
Yeah, to me that was the best scene in the movie. No, sorry, yeah, the San Francisco. Well, either that one or the fight with the guy in the mask. Those two were like the best fights, I think.
I think I like the one with the mask in the Fight Club a little bit
Yeah,
more, just because it was just much more visually pleasing. Even the outside stuff on the side of the building they were doing, I'll just like include that too because it was like all continuous and stuff. Dude, it was just so fucking cool. And this movie does a type of action that I really like, and it's a fluid action that he moves to everything around him. Like Shang was just like flying over everything. This dude was going over the bars that we use to hold our hands on buses and trains. Like, he's using his environment to his advantage. And I think when fighting uses its own environment, it just makes for a much more entertaining and watchable fight, I feel like. I don't know how you feel about the fight sequences in this.
yeah. I mean, look, the first two that you were describing, like the one in the in the bus in San Francisco, that was really really well done. Like the sound effects, the choreography, everything was top notch. And then everything in the Fight Club was great. And then when they were coming down from the building, like the side of the building, that was also really good. I mean, like really well staged, really well shot. Everything was great. But the fight scenes or lack thereof after that's one of the things that kind of bothered me because there's not like they kind of like cut down on the fight scenes after those. Like the big third act fight, it's more of a like almost like Ghostbusters, people killing demons with bows and arrows.
Yeah.
While it's almost like I got some like Man of Steel vibes, kind of like Saw versus Superman, just like super powered people like hitting each other against rocks and flying around, and the villain has the same power as the hero, and just it didn't like do the martial arts part as much. I guess there was a short time where they fought like in the beach, right? The Mandarin,
Yeah.
sorry, Wenwu against um, um, Shang-Chi. But other than that, they kind of like cut down on the fighting for the second half. Did you get that vibe?
I was just about to mention that because that was
Yeah,
like another one of my pet peeves, and that was the pacing with the film. And like
yeah,
you said, they put like three really good fights within the first 40 minutes of the
yeah,
movie.
yeah,
And this movie's 2 hours and what, 15 minutes long. And
yeah,
then the next 45 minutes is just exposition dump, exposition dump, exposition dump, third act big fight with two fucking dragons. That's exactly how it
yeah.
happened. And I think I was telling Amanda this. I wish they would just space the fights out a little bit more. Like we got from point A to point B to point C super fast within those first 40 minutes. And then that entire middle act was just much slower. And then when they try to escape the facility, they give you like a taste of a fight when they're like fighting them on the side of the cars. But then as soon as they escape, which is within a minute or so, it's done. It's just like, man, give me the exposition dumps in between the fights and use the fights to keep my attention in
Yeah.
between those scenes. Because, yeah, I enjoyed having these three really cool fight scenes back to back, but I think a lot of people would have intake the information a little bit more if you just spread it out the fights a little bit more to keep the attention span for viewers longer, especially in 2 hour plus movies. I feel like nowadays, which are oddly enough seeming to become the norm, but I think people don't have enough attention span still for some of the movies. I don't know if you feel the same way when it comes to how they were spacing out the fights, and maybe that's the reason why the pacing was off, or unless you had like a different idea of why.
I get what you're saying, and yeah, that's a part of it. But I think to me, the problem was that there was way too much exposition overall. Like there was
Right.
just so many things that they could have just cut or make shorter, and there was like, and that's that. My biggest problem with the movie was probably the fact that at many points in that middle section, it feels like Shang-Chi barely has any lines, and it's just there listening to Wenwu talk, like he's just
Yeah.
listening, and then he gets to Talo, and he just listens to I forgot the character's name, but Michelle Yeoh's character giving
Doing that.
exposition, and then we walk through that hallway. It's like a wall of exposition, like
Oh
it's
yeah, I
just
definitely agree.
right, and it's I mean it's a treat because it's the exposition is provided by great actors, right? Tony Leong and Michelle Yeoh, like of course, were really really good, but like it just like puts the brakes on the movie and puts the brake on the main character. Like at points I felt like is this still about him, because it just he takes a back seat for a big part of the second half of the movie.
And that's why it also drags a little bit, is because the secondary characters and the antagonist, we'll say, rather than villain, is put at the forefront. Like another thing is, I feel like Katie kind of was just in the third act to be there. There was absolutely no reason for her to be there, and she becomes like a bow and arrow person or a specialist within the first with only a day. It just seems like a lot of character forcefulness to have someone at the climax when it's very obvious that they really have no other reason to be there other than to distract the main threat, which is, I forgot the big dragon's name that they let that Wenwu lets out, but that big dragon that they have to fight, she's only there to shoot it in the throat to distract them from not killing the Great Protector. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, no, you're right. I mean, I think you and I kind of like hinted at this and earlier today, texting like, yeah, she there's not much to do for her or anybody when the main character in the third act is not Shang-Chi or Wenwu, or it's just the special effects, right? So like, how do we like keep Katie kind of like invested into this? They have her learn master archery for 2 scenes, and then she just like kills the dragon, but or not the dragon, the whatever animal that is the monster, right? Yeah, because the dragon's a good guy, right? So yeah, no, I agree with you, and they couldn't figure out what to do with her. But again, I mean, if they had done kind of like a smaller climax and kind of like have her, fighting bad guys alongside, Shang-Chi fighting Wenwu, I think would have been more effective. I agree with you. I mean, I still think that the fact that they managed to have her, kind of like take part in killing the big threat was a good choice. She does feel like like the movie just runs out of things for her to do. Like, like things for Katie to do in that third act, and just like, oh, let's have her do something like that she hasn't done before. The opposite of the driving, because I think the movie did a great job in that first scene, or first few scenes, like setting up that she's a great driver, right? It just
Yeah.
cleverly puts it. Like I love that kind of setup where they're just like oh, they work, they're in a ballet parking. And then she's like, oh, let's take this one for a joyride. And you're like, okay, so she's a great driver. And then it comes back, right? So she's a great driver, but then all of a sudden she's also a great archer. Then you gotta like fill that up, and you're right. It kind of like feels kind of
And
like
then
tucked in there. Yeah.
to add like on top, like to add the icing to the cake, I feel like was the post credit scene too. Is it just seems like they're trying to make her a much more important character than she really seemed like when this movie started, in my opinion. Because right when they were eating and Wong came in, he's like, "I need both of you," but like, why do you need her? What has she
Yeah.
done?
Again, Man of Steel vibes. Remember when Sod comes no, not Sod, Feora comes to Earth, and she's like, okay, Superman, you need to come with me, and also Lois Lane. It's like, why?
No, yeah,
Yeah.
you're just sitting there and you're just like, I see what you're trying to do, but
Yeah.
like I don't know.
Yeah.
It didn't really work in my opinion, but I did like the character overall. I'm just curious to really know where they're gonna take her. And another thing that I found like kind of odd was I feel like the script had a hard time trying to figure out how much screen time they wanted to give to specific characters. Because if you had to give me a movie without a title, just showed me this, and asked me who the main character was, I would have either said Shang-Chi, Wenwu, or Zhang Ling, the sister, because she equally has as much time and depth as Shang-Chi, I feel like, in this movie, to a point where it feels more of like an Ant-Man and the Wasp type of film. It feels more like a team up after what 30 minutes in when
Yeah.
they start seeing each other and meeting up, and out of 2 hours and 15 minutes 75%, 80% of this film is a team up film. Like she is literally the only time she's not fighting with Shang at the end is when it's him versus Wenwu. Like it has to be those two. But then she's with him all throughout the entire dragon fight. And I really like the character, don't get me wrong, and I love to see where she goes next, especially with her post credit scene.
Yeah.
But I feel like they gave a little too much to her to the point of that it lowered Shang's importance, I guess. I don't want to say it like that way, but his character just kind of, like you said, faded in the background a little bit more because you have another character there that seems just as important as he is.
Yeah, no, totally. And I mean, look, it's good for them to, how to have it not just centered about one person, and that's fine. But at times it feels like, like like why does she even belong in here? I'm totally aligned with you. But I mean, they'll find clever ways to do it. Like, for example, they kept Pepper Potts being relevant for what, like 8 movies, and she was
Even
never
when
like,
she was like never even in most of them.
right, right. And she was just like, for a bit here and there, and then she got like a great, what I assume is a send off in Avengers Endgame. So they'll probably do something similar with Katie. I mean, and they're probably, if there is like a romantic undertone there and they're going to explore it, um, she's got to be there,
I hope they don't explore like any relationship with the two of them. I really like their friendship. I thought they had like really good chemistry as really good friends, and I think that they should stick with that.
Mm.
And even by towards the end, I thought they were going to kiss, but I'm like, if they don't kiss now, I don't really think that they'll ever reach that marker moving forward. But you never know. Filmmakers do crazy things at the last second. Like, look at Avengers: Age of Ultron between Black Widow and Hulk. Like, where the fuck did that come from? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
anything is quite possible in the MCU. But to touch on something you said about the third act fight and having it be these big CGI creatures,
Yeah.
and you wish that it was a little bit more compact and having the Wenwu versus Shang-Chi kind of being like the big fight of the movie. I agree and disagree at the same time. I really wish, and we got a little bit more of them fighting, but I think this movie needed to have those two dragons type of fighting to really implement the difference that this movie has over literally every other MCU project. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, in the sense that there were no dragons before, yeah, but also in the sense that
it's a
See,
mythical land too, bro. Like
yeah,
it's
I don't know. I mean, that's fine. I mean, look, I'm all in for the dragons. I did not dislike them. I just think that the fight, like what they had done with the fight choreography, like kind of keeping it grounded, because that scene in the bus, like it could have been in any movie almost. You know, it could have been,
yeah.
you know, any action movie could have had like you know, an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie or whatever. Like, you know, like it's not fantastical really. Like at that point in the movie, you're not like really immersed into the vastness of the universe. Like the movie does a good job at kind of like showing you, you know, how far this like mythical land and this like powerful people come into play. But at that point in the movie, all you know is that, you know, there was this land Tallow, and then that, you know, what's his face, Fire Fist or Razor Fist
These are
has
fist.
like, you know, no arms and just knives for arms or whatever. Like, but you don't know very much. So if they had done something like that for the final confrontation, and maybe have a bit of the dragons because they were pretty cool. Like the designs were great, the special effects look amazing. That's fine, but I would have liked that, you know, more, you know, grounded fight scene.
No, yeah, I definitely agree. But what did you think about that final fight between Wenwu and Shang-Chi? Because I gotta say, I really liked it. I like the redesign of the Ten Rings. So FYI, for anyone who doesn't know, the Ten Rings in the comics are actual rings that go on your fingers and not the arm rings or armbands that they use in this movie. And I think the way they use them is really cool and unique. And you start seeing that more once Shang starts getting more of that power, and you start seeing that half the rings go to Shang and then half stay with Wenwu. And to see what they do with the two rings of like using them as swords, using them as like tail whips to catch each other and pull each other, like that big Harry Potter moment where Harry and Voldemort are both like hitting each other or hitting the same stream. Like you get
Yeah,
one of those moments, and
yeah.
it was super cool. And I just really like the design of the Ten Rings. I wish they went a little bit more in depth with how they really worked, because all they really tell you about them is that Wenwu just found them in some magical place. That's about it. But I'm hoping we get a little bit more of those in the future. But what did you think about the choreography, the look, the emotional depth and value within that final confrontation between the two characters?
I think it was good. You know, I have a bit of a nitpick here, which I mean, you saw the movie more recently than I did, so maybe you caught something that I didn't. But there's a scene where Sean is like, you know, the night before the big battle, he's talking to Katie, and he's like, you know, like I'm a murderer, and you know, like he kind of like, you know,
Yeah,
believes that because he, you know, his dad raised him as a murderer, he is a murderer, which it sounds like, you know, very common trope in these kinds of movies, especially this kind of story, and that's fine. But then when he goes to his dad, he immediately like he doesn't even acknowledge that. Like I don't think he acknowledges like I'm gonna kill you, and he doesn't seem to have a moment where he's like I'm not gonna kill you because I'm not you or something. You know, like did you feel like there was some sort of disconnect there, or is that did I miss something?
I didn't feel any type of disconnect there. There's one scene within that fight I felt a little disconnect with, and it was like that Voldemort versus Harry Potter part where both Wenwu and Shang are both pulling on their ends, and you see them both just staring each other down. I felt like on both their ends, it didn't really look like they were pulling. They just
Yeah.
looked like they were standing in a position, and I'm like, oh come on, you guys couldn't have like shaked your arms or something. They were just standing there, which kind
Yeah.
of bothered me because it just like it's something so simple and obvious that I don't really think should have happened, which is why I think it bothers me so much. But I didn't feel any type of disconnect, but I think I'm seeing it again tomorrow night with Leo.
Oh,
So
that's awesome. I'm
I'll
also watching
definitely
tomorrow. Yeah, let's discuss that later, even if offline, because I'm curious because I got that moment where he's like, "I'm a
no
killer,"
yeah,
like
I'm
because
definitely gonna look at it.
right,
Yeah,
and then you know usually when you set something like that up, you need to have a moment where he's like about to kill him, and he's like, "No, I won't kill you because I'm not you," and that's the arc, right?
yeah,
I don't remember that happening. Maybe I missed it, but either way, I think you know because of Tony Leong's character and just presence, and like you said, the Ten Rings. Like I didn't know there were actual rings. I didn't know anything about the Ten Rings except that I think they were set up in the first Iron Man, right? They
Yeah.
said they were,
So the
yeah,
Ten Rings organization were the people that took Tony captive in the
right.
first movie.
Which were obviously, a completely different idea back then. I think they were like more
Yeah,
like
I think it
trying to
was
make
more
like
of like an Easter egg type thing back then.
yeah, and also the concept that I think they were going. I mean, back then it was more relevant to kind of like do. It was like an Al Qaeda kind of thing. I think that's
Oh,
what.
2008, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
right. I mean, I guess right now, with the Afghanistan stuff, it's kind of like coming back. But I think back then they tried to do some like kind of like terrorist kind of thing. I don't. I mean, I don't know how insensitive that is or whatever, but I think that's what they're kind of like going for. But I don't think it contradicts what they did here. I think if anything, it kind of like expands the scope of how far Wenwu goes with this like powerful organization, right?
So to dabble on like the Ten Rings as a whole now a little bit is we saw the Ten Rings in the first Iron Man. The Ten Rings organization is actually very well connected to the Iron Man trilogy. So they're the ones who take him captured in the first one, and then the third movie, and then a short film really take control in the Ten Ring storyline. So I actually recently just watched Iron Man 3 like the night before Wednesday. I watched it just to be caught up because I'm like, there's no way they're not going to explain what happened with Trevor Slattery
Yeah,
within that film. And I actually watched the one shot short film that they made to connect in between the films. I don't know if
yeah,
you
good
saw that.
one. Yeah,
Yeah,
all hail the king.
All Hail
Yeah,
the King. I just watched it for the first time. So I'm really glad I watched that because I got to ask you, man, I'm really shocked at how much screen time Ben Kingsley has in this
I
movie as Trevor
know.
Slattery. I
And he's
was
so
shocked.
good. He's
He's
so
so
good.
good. He's so good. That's the
Yeah,
one thing, like coming out of Iron Man 3, because I'm not the biggest fan of Iron Man 3. It's on the lower portion of my ranking and just overall feelings. But dude, Ben Kingsley dude, he owns that role. I totally believe that he is Trevor Slattery, a fake fucking actor. Like, it's weird to say that this is one of the most convincing roles that I've seen him do in quite a while. I don't
that's
know if
right.
you feel the
Yeah.
same.
No, I do. I mean, he doesn't do that many movies anymore. I don't think.
But like,
This.
even in the past 20 years, this is the most convincing he's been.
Yeah, I guess. I think when I think of Ben Kingsley, I think of him more in like Gandhi and Schindler's List, and I
Yeah.
don't think of him like in modern movies. Yeah, he's not really in many movies these days, or at least any like mainstream movies. But I don't know about you, but I had no idea he was going to be in the movie. Like,
I I didn't know, but I felt like he would show up for a second. I felt like he'd make a cameo at the very least, but I didn't like want to say I guaranteed that. But what did you think about his role in this movie? Because I thought he absolutely killed it, like we said before. And
yeah.
he has the best comedic moments in this movie for me. I feel.
Oh yeah, yeah. He has his little pet. I don't remember the name of the
Oh my
flying thing,
god,
right?
little
And he's
meatball.
yeah, Morris, is that the name? I think it's Morris. He calls the animal Morris. That's what I'm seeing
Morris.
here in Wikipedia. Yeah. So I mean, he's good. He doesn't like steal the movie or anything. I think he comes in, he stays for the rest of the film. Like he doesn't like. He's good at he's the comic relief, but in the sense that he doesn't take away from the actual comic relief, which is
Yeah.
Katie, right? And he doesn't like feel out of place. I love them. I mean, I think we're aligned though, right? You also really like them.
No, yeah, I really liked him in this movie. I thought he was absolutely hilarious, and he's not the person I was expecting to see in the jail cell when they were doing the reveal. Like, okay, and then, what the fuck? And then he's just like, dude, that entire scene when when the animal comes out, everyone's like shocked. He's like, oh my god, you guys can see him too. That makes me feel so much better. Like, oh man, I was not expecting to like that character so much, especially, bro. Iron Man 3 came out in 2013. That's fucking crazy.
I know, and it's. I
Eight
mean, like you
years.
said, it's 8 years, and it's like you said, it's. it's lower tier MCU. I think it's got some great things, and one of them is Ben Kingsley. Right, one of the good
Yeah.
things about that movie is him. I personally had no attachment to the Mandarin as a character. I didn't know anything about him, so I didn't take a big hit when it was like the plot twist was revealed. Right, I was just like, oh, that's funny, and I just went with it. But I get many people were really annoyed at that, so they probably didn't enjoy how funny Ben Kingsley was in that movie because they were just like annoyed that he was just a fake Mandarin, right?
No, yeah, and that's the thing with this movie too, is they never clarify who the Mandarin is. Wenwu never calls himself the Mandarin, but he kind of subtly hints at it. He says he does kind of the Kang speech at the end of Loki, where he talks about his life as a person. He's gone by many names. He's
Yeah,
been called a conqueror, like that type of speech. And I'm just like, huh? But they're like not saying Mandarin, and I'm curious to know if it's for a reason or if they really just don't want to use that title because of how badly the 2013 movie received the backlash for using the title Mandarin. Because they even
yeah.
refer to Trevor as the Mandarin too at one point, I'm pretty sure from my memory.
Well, I think that now the character of the Mandarin, and this is like a completely ignorant thing. I'm not an expert or anything, but my understanding is that the character himself is kind of like associated with stereotypes, like and they're trying to like steer away from calling him
There
the
was a
Mandarin. Yeah,
character from the comics that they actually didn't include because of that. I think the
yeah.
character was called Kung Pao, one of the two. I think.
No. Yeah, so I mean they were trying to avoid that. So I think he makes a joke about like that they called Trevor Slattery the Mandarin. Like, he's like the Mandarin, and they named it after like chicken recipe or something. I think he says
Yeah, that's
something like
right.
that, right?
They made a joke about it. That's
About
right.
it being chicken, which is kind of like weird because mandarin is just a fruit, and the chicken recipe is called that because it's made with the fruit. It's like orange chicken. But I think that's the kind of joke that they made, and it was fine. I mean, I laughed, so I mean, it doesn't matter.
No, yeah. In regards to like the reveal in Iron Man 3, I didn't like want to burn down Marvel Studios like some people, but
Hmm.
like I thought it was funny, but I also thought it was just really fucking stupid because I just didn't think Guy Pearce was just a good enough character to be the villain. I'd like, bro, Ben Kingsley not only plays Trevor Slattery well, but the way he played the Mandarin, like in the Marvel one shot, the prisoners literally ask him to do the Mandarin voice, and he's
Yeah.
just like, "Nah, I don't want to do it, man. Come on, just let me. I've been doing it all day." He's like, "Okay, I'll do it," and he's like, "I'll be back." Yeah, I'm just like, bro, I just love how this pretty simple character has a relatively complex actor acting within this both movies, I'd say, which I just found kind of mind-boggling. I just something I was not expecting out of a
Yeah.
movie from Iron Man 3 and Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. But
Yeah.
I got to ask you a question though. What did you think? We touched on the post credit scenes a little bit back
Oh
then,
yeah.
but let's go a little bit more in depth on them. What did you think of the first one where Wong is recruiting Shang and Katie for whatever fucking reason, and then bro, you see Carol with the worst makeup I've seen on an actor in a while, and
Yes.
and
Yeah.
Mark Ruffalo. And I say Mark Ruffalo because he's not the Hulk for whatever fucking reason, but we'll go into that in a little bit. But what did you think about this post credit scene?
I mean, to be honest, not to be negative or anything, but they got like two of my least favorite Avengers. Like if they
Ah, really? You
had,
don't like Hulk, bro?
I mean, I guess I like the Hulk, but that
Captain
wasn't the
Marvel I
Hulk.
can get. I'm not the biggest fan, but like Captain
The
the
Hulk.
Hulk, dude, I love the Hulk.
I mean, but
That's
if it had been the Hulk, but it wasn't, like you said, for some reason, because I thought he was just like permanently the Hulk now, or at least that's what they
that
said in
I
Avengers.
thought he was that too, but I feel like we're gonna get a little bit more info on that in the She-Hulk show.
Right, yeah, that's what I thought too. But if they had somebody like, something like Rocket Raccoon and Spider-Man or something, I would have been more like, oh yes, or Rhodey, even Rhodey, I think, But I mean, Captain Marvel, I mean, or Doctor Strange, something like, I think they
And
got like the
I,
guys who
I
are
also feel
available.
like Brie Larson, this was the most charismatic she's been as Captain
Yeah.
Marvel.
Well, she's trying. It feels like she's trying to be a bit better than what she was in her own movie. Because she made choices like that wasn't like she didn't give a bad performance in that movie. She just made choices of how she wanted
Yeah.
to play the character, and they didn't all work. So now she's trying to like do it a bit better.
Yeah, so honestly, I really wasn't expecting you to be like kind of iffy about it because I was gonna ask you like, do you think they might be going a little overboard with like the overall villain arcs, like the Thanos level villain arcs, that's gonna cause like a giant team up, whether it's an Avengers movie or hell a new Avengers or Young Avengers movie, something like that? Because right now we've got Valentina recruiting people for her Dark Avengers or whatever. And then we've got Kang the Conqueror, who's already technically been introduced, but we're going to get more info in the next Ant-Man movie. And then at the end of this movie, they kind of make it seem like there's a big threat coming because Wong tells us, or tells Shang-Chi and Katie, that within the rings, there's a beacon that was letting out a transmission signal. And but why? Like, do you think this is leading to another massive event? And if so, do you think like why are you doing three big events within this fucking story, especially with all these solo films that we're getting in solo TV shows of introducing these new characters?
Yeah, I mean, big speculation. Yeah, I mean, they're probably setting up like the next movie. I don't know if they'll, because it took three phases to get to Thanos, right? And they kept
Yeah,
setting up Thanos, and then just like different things happened. I guess the first Avengers kind of set up a part of the Thanos conflict, but then the second Avengers was just like a completely different thing. Well, also it set up an Infinity Stone, so I mean they can play around with that stuff. I think it's good. I think the fact that they opened several avenues is probably a good thing because right now there are no Avengers movies, in the calendar. I'm sure there will be one eventually, but for now they're just like more focusing on different kinds of films. I think that's good. The only thing that keeps worrying me about these phase 4 people, including Shang-Chi, is that they feel like everybody's like way too powerful. Like
I,
Kang
I
is too powerful, Captain Marvel's too powerful.
I feel like that's the thing though at this point because Thanos is just like story wise, he's not that far behind us, like in a term or sense of that we're done with him. But Thanos has been done to us for like 2 years now, and we've only just been getting Marvel content again just pretty recently, not even that long ago. So I feel like with these next steps and making these bigger and badder villains, you need to create bigger and badder superheroes, people that can actually take them on. And I feel like we're gonna start getting away towards the more grounded stuff. I feel like we're gonna have grounded stuff, but I feel like phase 1 through 3 was the Earth battle. Phase 4 through 6, if they're gonna stick to the three phases again, is
Mm.
gonna be the space battle. So you need people that can fight in space, and I think that's where I feel like it's going.
Yeah, that's a good point, and that's perfectly fine. And I think also, I mean, I read some comments of some people saying like, "Oh, I'm so tired that like the Marvel movies have become so crazy. Like, nothing's grounded, and it just become like these fantastical things with the
It's
dragon and
never
the
been
monster."
grounded.
And it's like this one, yes, but like the last Marvel movie was like 2 months ago, Black Widow, and it was like not a single like supernatural thing in the whole movie. Like it
I don't
was
know. The daughters surviving that blast seemed pretty super fucking natural to me.
the sister.
No, no, the daughter, sorry, I didn't mean sister. The daughter of whoever the bad guy was, the big bad male character that couldn't be
Oh, the Taskmaster. You mean?
yeah, Taskmaster. Yeah,
Oh no, I thought
I
you
don't know why
meant
I
when
said
Yelena like survives the explosion.
No,
Um,
when they finally do the Budapest backstory and they blow and Black Widow blows up Taskmaster,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
pretty
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Like that's
yeah.
paranormal shit right there, bro. She, I'm
Well, but
sorry.
I mean, grounded, MCU level grounded, right? It was MCU level,
Yeah,
like kind of like there in its own level. But on the other side, you got these like cosmic movies, and that's fine. Like it's same in the shows. You had One Division, and then you had fucking the Winter Soldier, and then Loki. Like they just like have different things. So they're playing around, and I think they're doing a good job. I
and
don't think that they're getting tired yet. Hopefully,
but I also think we're gonna have those grounded stuff too. Like She Hulk is probably gonna be pretty grounded. I feel like
Hawkeye.
Hawkeye,
Yeah,
Moon Knight. I would assume right now, depending on what they do with that show. But we're getting all those stuff. Miss Marvel too. Who knows where they bring with that
yeah.
character? It's a teenager. I can't imagine them taking her to space. But Peter also went to space. But who really the fuck knows? But before we start wrapping things up and go into like final thoughts and grades, I want to ask, what do you think about Wong in this movie?
Oh, it was great. It's my thinking. I mean, look, everybody loves Benedict Wong. Like, if you don't love
Oh
Benedict
yeah,
Wong, like, and as an actor, like, I remember him in The Martian. Do you remember he was in The Martian? He's
yeah. I
really
always
funny.
forget he's in The Martian.
Yeah, he's great in The Martian. Like, he's been in many movies. He's really good. But I also find it funny that every time he plays, um, like Wong, he's kind of like done something different with the character, because he was like in
Yeah,
Doctor Strange, he's like the serious guy. He doesn't laugh, and then it's funny when he's listening to, I think it's Beyonce, right? I think it's
yeah. It's
Beyonce,
Beyonce
right? And then when he was in Endgame, he was like the a bit of
in
the
Infinity
goof.
War. In
Sorry,
Infinity War.
yeah, the Infinity War. Yeah, he was a bit of the goof, like because he didn't have money to buy a sandwich or something. Remember,
Yeah.
right? So he was like oh, you're a dummy, like. And now here he's playing it like a bit different, kind of
He's
like
getting drunk, doing
yeah,
karaoke.
right, which was incredibly effective. I mean, nothing.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, I don't mind that he's doing something different. It's just something to point out that he is doing something different every time he plays the character. But yeah, the karaoke thing was fantastic, and then the fact that he just came in, was finding the abomination. I thought that was awesome. The fact that they brought back the abomination, because everybody kind of
Bro,
like feels that movie's gone, right?
dude, it's the Abomination was like such a weird character for me in this movie. Like, bro, literally he was in there for the entire trailer sequence that we saw, and that was it.
Yeah, yeah. That was it, and I guess they're bringing back Tim Roth for
Yeah, for
She
She-Hulk.
Hulk.
They already
Yes,
confirmed that though.
yeah, that should be interesting. I mean, Tim Roth is like 80 now, or I don't know how old he is, but
So
he's
I
old.
I gotta think too, because after the fight, Wong took him back to the Sanctum Sanctorium too. So he's holding him captive, it looks like. So do you think it'd be crazy if we saw the Abomination in Spider-Man No Way Home or like Multiverse of Madness?
Oh, I'd love it. I'd love it. I
That'd
think
be
the
fucking
design is
cool.
good. Yeah, the
I really
design's
like the
good.
redesign of the
Yeah,
comic book
yeah,
accurate
for
version.
sure. I maybe want to rewatch that movie. I haven't seen it in years.
I
Yeah,
I like it much more than other people do. It's like 18 for me, but out of 25 movies,
it's
that
pretty
should be
high.
yeah.
Yeah.
I really like the Hulk. I like the darker Hulk design within that movie, and I thought the Abomination looked really cool, and the entire Harlem battle at the end was fucking dope as shit.
You know who they haven't brought back? I don't know the name of the character,
Betty
but
Ross. I know
no,
you.
no, no. Tim Blake Nelson. I don't know who he plays.
Oh shit. I've heard rumors that he might be coming back, and it's more than likely gonna be the She-Hulk show.
Oh, that'd be great. I mean, Tim Blake
Because
Nelson is just
they
great.
set him up to be a specific character. I think his name's like Mole Man or some shit. I don't remember. I
I
but
have it here. Samuel Stearns. Uh, I don't know who that is, but yeah. I mean, hopefully they bring him back. After seeing Tim Blake Nelson, I recently rewatched Watchmen. He's such a great actor,
yeah,
right? Like
he's
he's
really
like
good.
Coen Brothers' favorite, and it's just good to have him anywhere.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, and the thing about Wong, you were saying like each movie, He
Yeah.
feels like a different person. And I
Yeah.
think that's why Wong is so culturally relevant when it comes to Marvel movies now. And I think that's why people make such a big fuss about him, is because he's such a unique and just out different characters. Because from the way we saw him in Doctor Strange was like this kind of preserved character, but then his character kept coming out in each film with more interaction he had with Doctor Strange. So
Yeah.
I guess you can kind of thank the friendship he has with Doctor Strange on that a little bit, because I feel like that's when he started breaking out of his shell. But did you want to touch on anything that we didn't touch on yet before we start wrapping up?
Well, I'm wondering. I've heard this a lot. I don't. I mean, everybody has their own ranking and thinking about it. I mean, I don't want to hear like your ranking, but unless you want to give it. But but I hear some people saying this is like the best Marvel origin movie. Um, I really don't believe it should be there, but I mean, I think there are many great origin movies, and to me, just making an MCU ranking overall, it seems pretty impossible because it's to me it's really hard to pick between so many great movies, right? But what do you think? Like, where does it stand like against other origin movies?
So overall of just the movies, like the show's not ranked, it's 8 for me. But I have Spider-Man Homecoming and Guardians of the Galaxy as origin films of some
Yeah,
sorts, or
yeah.
first films that I have above that, which I think are much better when it comes to the origin films and really digging deep into the character for the first time and really finding out who they are. Guardians of the Galaxy is no question, I feel like that ending of We Are Groot, super emotional and just great chemistry throughout the entire cast. And I know people are back and forth. You either love Homecoming or you don't. I'm
Hmm.
a I'm a fucking massive Spider-Man nerd, so this is like my guilty love pleasure film. But Shang-Chi, I'm not gonna hold it against, because Ant-Man would have been my next solo film after that. I got Ant-Man at number 10 for solo film, or origin film, I should say. So Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, I absolutely loved, and I can't wait to see it again tomorrow. How do you feel, though, a little bit more in depth on your feelings about it?
No, I mean, I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. I think it's, I mean, Marvel
What
knows how to
origins
make
do you think
movies.
are better, though? I should ask.
Oh, I mean, most of them. I just, I mean, I
You
think the
do?
first
Okay.
Iron Man is way superior. I think the first Iron Man. We sometimes forget about it because there's been so many movies, and it's the oldest one. But the first Iron Man is just outstanding to me. It's such a great movie. The same. I mean, the first Thor. I feel like people are starting to come around to liking it more. I've always really, really loved the first Thor. And Guardians of the Galaxy is better too, in my view. Um, I think those three, because if you get to like Doctor Strange and the first Captain America, I would say they're around the same level. But I think those three, Iron Man, Thor, and Guardians of the Galaxy, are superior to this one.
Yeah, I definitely gotta agree with the Guardian. I love Guardians of the fucking Galaxy so
Yeah,
much.
so good.
But without a doubt, I absolutely loved this movie. I kind of figured I would. I've been campaigning this movie for a while. I've just been telling people to go out and watch it, which you guys should definitely do. Support this movie with every inch of your wallet, please, because we need to see Eternals and Spider-Man No Way Home this year. Because if not, I think I will have a panic attack and my brains will blow up into oblivion out of pure stress. But you know what? This movie does so many things well. It does the action well. Actually, this has some of the best action, some of the best shot action in the MCU as well. I really like the dynamic camera movement with the flow of the fight. It always felt like the fight was visceral and I was within that moment. So it always kept me engaged and always kept me going with the punches and kicks. I loved it without a doubt. Simu Liu owns the role of Shang-Chi, even though it felt like sometimes he got a little pushed back. That's fine, though. I think he did great for what he did. Him and Aquafina as Kate had a fantastic friendship that I would love to see continue on. I hope it doesn't turn into a love relationship, because I feel like we just have all those at this point, and it'd be nice to see a friendship, another Bucky or Steve type thing, because those characters' friendships gone at this point. Uh, Tony Leong as Wenwu is amazing as the antagonist slash villain, depending on how you see this. I highly recommend this movie. It's one of the better, like I said, films in the MCU. I ranked it 8 out of 25 films and then 8 out of everything overall. Guys, please go see this. I think I gave this movie an 8.8, which is like a B plus. 4 stars out of 5. Please go see it. What about you, Gabe, and where can we find you?
I give it an 8 on my site, and I think that's a solid grade. And well, you can find me on my site, filmopinionize.com and filmopinionize on social media. I agree. I mean, go watch this movie. You know, if it's safe. You know, because right now we're at a surge, and I'm like you said, worried that I don't think if this movie underperforms, it'll have anything to do with the movie itself, or the themes or anything at all. I think if this movie underperforms is because of the health situation we're going through. So just, I mean, yeah, try to watch it. It's a great one. You'll enjoy, you'll enjoy it as we will, as we did for sure. So yeah, go check it out. Let us know.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for checking out this podcast. Yeah, I know it's been a minute, but you know what? We back, bitches. It's all good. And you know we're back because you guys got to hit that like, comment, and subscribe button to stay tuned for more and catch next week's show. We'll see you on the next one. Peace, guys.